Hey friends and family, I'm Scott. I'm back again with another 7 movies recommended from the last 20 years. I am working my way through 2007 right now. I'd like to next talk about a movie which appealed to me on a few sort of not very reputable ways. And maybe a lot of other people won't like it, but I really enjoyed it. It's called Mr. Brooks. If this movie came out in the 90s, it would probably be getting lots and lots of more attention than it did when it came out in 2007 because it stars two of the biggest names from that decade, Kevin Costner and Demi Moore. Kevin Costner is a serial killer named Mr. Brooks. He is a respected businessman and father and husband and very wealthy and successful, but he has a dark impulse to kill people, which he does with clinical precision and takes lots of precautions to make sure that there is absolutely no evidence anywhere that could possibly connect him. But it's this impulse that he has. He's gone without murdering anyone for a few years, but the impulse drives him is one that he has a hard time resisting because he enjoys killing so much. And this impulse is personified in the William Hurt character, whom he calls Marshall. Kevin Costner has a sickness, a psychological disorder. He imagines this guy talking to him. The id, the purely murderous side of his personality, is personified in the William Hurt character. And it may be a bit too neatly cinematic to be totally believable, but it serves the same purpose as the volleyball does in Castaway. Tom Hanks, alone on the island, basically needed someone to talk to, not just for his own psychological well-being, but also for the sake of the audience, so we wouldn't have to hear narration from him the entire time. He has something to talk to, even though he's alone, so we learn more about him. And it's the same with Kevin Costner in this movie. Mr. Brooks, we learn about Mr. Brooks, how the way he truly is, by how he speaks with this delusion that he has, this delusion. And the scenes between Costner and William Hurt are great. Really, really terrific. They're both terrific in this movie. Who else is in this movie? Connie Britton, if I remember correctly, plays his wife. And Demi Moore, of course, plays the homicide cop that's tracking him. He is known as the thumbprint killer. At least his persona is. They still haven't connected Kevin Costner to this character. But he messes up one of the murders, and there's some guy basically across the street with a camera, played by Dane Cook, who takes some pictures of him at the murder scene. And so Dane Cook, instead of taking this photograph to the police, tells him, "Hey, I felt such a rush when you killed those people. Will you teach me how to do it?" And Kevin Costner goes, "Well, okay. I guess I don't have much choice, do I?" Yeah, it's a good movie. I really like it a lot. Kevin Costner was talking about making several movies with this character, but I don't think that it did all that well at the box office because I haven't heard a peep about it since. But I really liked it a lot. It's directed by Bruce A. Evans, a director I'm not familiar with. Don't know any of his other works. Sorry about that. Then there's Superbad. Superbad is such a fun movie, so funny. I'm a little, I must apologize for not including Borat in my videos about 2006. I think that's a really funny movie, but there were so many good movies in 2006 that I want to recommend before that one. I had to skip recommending Fight Club in 1999 as well, just because there's so many good movies from that year. Superbad, similarly to Borat, is outrageously funny. I laughed so hard during this movie. It's a really good, solid story, really good script. Unlike a lot of Apatow movies, it doesn't seem to go on for a really long period of time, a lot longer than it has to. Of course, Judd Apatow didn't direct the movie, he was just a producer, and it was actually directed by Greg Mottola, who also did Forgetting Sarah Marshall, another really good comedy. This movie is absolutely hilarious. I'm sure you guys know all about it. It's Seth Rogen, Michael Cera, and McLovin, of course. I forget the name of the actor. Christopher Mintz-Plasse, right. They had a little Superbad reunion in one scene in This Is the End, which was kind of cute. But yeah, and Seth Rogen's in it as well. Did I say Seth Rogen? I meant Jonah Hill. Sorry, Jonah Hill and Michael Cera are like the two main characters. Yeah, but yeah, the two of them just hanging out, looking to score at a party by bringing the booze. Emma Stone is like probably the first movie I saw her in. I was so blown away by Emma Stone when I first saw her. I was just like, her. That one right there, she is awesome. And yeah, she continues to be awesome. Yeah, terrific movie. Now I'd like to talk about a movie which is quite different, a documentary. It's called Lake of Fire. It was directed by Tony Kaye, who directed a film back in '98 called American History X. And this movie is about abortion. It was filmed over the course of about 15 years. and he collects all sorts of footage on pro-life activists and pro-choice activists and people who will go to extreme lengths to push their beliefs on other people, what they feel is right, what they feel is, justified, as far as making sure that their cause comes out dominant in the end. Lots of really unhinged people in this movie. It's disturbing to think that these people are all real, that they're not fictional creations. Quite a compelling movie. Difficult movie to watch. I certainly wouldn't recommend it to everyone, because they actually did film a couple of abortions, which you see happen, basically, and that could probably be disturbing to a number of different people. So if that's not something that you want to see, you should probably avoid the movie. But if you think you can handle it, I would strongly suggest it, because it's quite a good movie. One of the very best movies to come out that year, if not the decade. I believe I did put it on my top 10 list of that decade, yeah. That was, it's been a while since I looked at that list. Another movie which definitely went on my best of the year and best of decade list, because it was my favorite movie of 2007, Once. A much gentler movie than Lake of Fire. Once is an Irish film about a street musician who was played by Glenn Hansard, and then there's Markéta Irglova. They made up the duo The Swell Seas, and they did a lot of touring. They wrote a lot of music together, and they were in a relationship for a while, and then they split up, but they continued to make music together and tour. They wrote the music for the film, they performed it, they won the Academy Award for their song Falling Slowly. Yeah, it's just quite a lovely movie. Quite a lovely movie. He wants to be her boyfriend, and she says no thanks. And he says, okay, well, how about we just sing and make music together? And she's like, okay. So the whole movie is him sort of hoping that she'll accept him, possibly as a boyfriend, while they continue to play and record music and everything like that. It's quite sweet. It's a sweet movie. And great music. Great music. Of course, it's kind of music that appeals to me. People who are into death metal probably wouldn't enjoy it as much as I would. but yeah, it's quite a lovely movie. It was directed by John Carney, who went on to do a movie which came out last year with Mark Ruffalo and Keira Knightley. What was it called? Begin Again. Yes, exactly. Didn't like that movie nearly as much as this one, but it did have a lot of good music in it, just like this one. Now, one movie that came out in 2007 that I didn't like all that much when it first came out, but have grown to like over the years, is the Joel Ethan Coen film No Country for Old Men, which of course won Best Picture and Best Director for the Coen brothers. And I love the Coen brothers, but when I first saw the movie, it really kind of pissed me off, because there seemed to be so many elements of the film that were borrowed from earlier movies that I liked. Movies like Barton Fink, Miller's Crossing, Raising Arizona. I just felt like I was watching the sort of greatest hits thing. And what I learned later on is that the novel that the movie is based on, by Cormac McCarthy, was actually optioned by Scott Rudin, who said, hey, I should get the Coen brothers to make this movie. Probably because it reminded him of those movies that I mentioned. Anyway, I've sort of had the opportunity over the years to get used to the movie, and the bits that seem to be plucked out of other Coen Brothers movies, like the etchings and the wood paneling and the hotel, which seems to have only one guest in it, and the bad guy driving by and blasting away at an animal. These are all things that happened in earlier Coen Brothers movies. They don't bother me as much now, and I can appreciate the movie for what it is, and it's quite a solid thriller. And I'm really glad that the Coen Brothers did win Best Director, even though I didn't feel that the movie was the best of the year. I'm glad that they're Oscar winners, Oscar-winning directors now. It's really great. If you're not familiar, of course, it's Tommy Lee Jones as a sheriff who's tracking this crime that's happened out in the middle of the desert in western Texas. A bunch of drug dealers found dead in the middle of a prairie. Meanwhile, Josh Brolin has come across their satchel of $2 million and is trying to get away with it. But Javier Bardem, of course, is hot on his trail. Javier Bardem won the Best Supporting Actor Oscar, of course. A lot of really good set pieces in this movie, quite suspenseful at times. And Carter Burwell did the score for this movie along with most of the other Coen Brothers movies, except that there's hardly any real music in the film. Just sort of like tones. Most of the film passes without any music at all, and the only real bit of proper score you get is at the very end during the credits. It's a little unusual. Then also another fantastic movie, Ratatouille. directed by Brad Bird, who also made The Incredibles. Ratatouille is a delightful movie. Remy the Rat, voiced by Patton Oswalt, wants to be a chef, wants to succeed in Paris as one of the best chefs in the city. Of course, he's a rat, so any humans seeing a rat in a kitchen are bound to go, there's a rat in here, we need to get him out of here, he's dirty, he's a mess, without realizing that he's actually a quite skilled chef. Peter O'Toole is the critic Anton Ego, who is has an adversarial relationship, I think, with the owner of the restaurant that Remy is working at. I think it's who's the kid from, well, he was in This Is the End, as well as She's Out of My League. Jay Bucharel, right. Jake Bucharel does the voice of the kid who basically hides Remy in his chef's hat. So Remy can coach him on how to cook, and Janine Garofalo voices a character in the movie as well. Really, really terrific movie. Beautiful animation, just a delightful movie. And finally, last movie I'd like to recommend from this year is, of course, by my favorite director, David Fincher, and one of his very best films. This is Zodiac, which is based on a book by Robert Graysmith, who is the main character of the film, played by Jake Gyllenhaal. He is basically a political cartoonist working for the San Francisco Chronicle when the notorious Zodiac murders start happening, and he begins his own sort of unofficial investigation into the crime, and it lasts for years until he finally publishes a book with his conclusions. There's a really terrific ensemble cast. Of course, lots of people love working with David Fincher, and there's quite a great cast in this movie. Chloe Sevigny, Anthony Edwards, Mark Ruffalo, of course, plays the cop. One of the very best performances Mark Ruffalo has ever given. And, of course, John Carroll Lynch is one of the primary suspects. And, of course, Robert Downey Jr. As the journalist, another journalist working at the paper who has a little drinking problem and has sort of an adversarial relationship with Ruffalo. Hulk versus Iron Man, again, right? Or pre-Hulk and pre-Iron Man fighting. Anyway, really, really terrific movie. Good docudrama. And like I said, Fincher's a favorite of mine, and this is one of his best movies. So, there we've got 14 movies from 2007. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that you take a look at some of these if you haven't checked them out already. Comment below if you want. Visit my Facebook page if you want. That's all in the description below. I'll see you again real soon. Bye.